In this video, we're going to talk about the 3-paragraph cover letter. The goal is to get them excited about you. So what is the purpose of a cover letter? A lot of people say they don't read them. A lot of people say they only read them. And so the question really is, well, why am I even writing this in the first place? What it's for is to convince the reader that you are excited and to dispel the notion that you're just applying here because you need a job for a few months. Those things mean that you cannot submit a generic cover letter. It's very obvious when you do. If you say that, oh, the hiring manager and the company would be very interesting for my skills, you need to focus it so they understand that you know that you want to work here. So what do they need to see? What is the point of the cover letter? They need to understand 3 things. Very briefly, who are you? Why do you want this job? And why do you want to work here? And we're going to be talking about those 3 things in the next part of the video. Your cover letter should be very short. Most people are not going to sit down and read an entire page of text, and I want you to think about why. This isn't us being mean when we're looking at job applications, but let's say that I have to read through 50 of these, and you've all written 50 full pages single-spaced. So if I have to read 50 pages, that's approaching the length almost of a short novel. And all I want to do is find a good co-op student. I might have 1 to 2 days to review all of these resumes and start my interviewing process. So I'm not going to be able to read that much and still make good decisions. I recommend 3 paragraphs. Those paragraphs should be very short, a few sentences each. You want to maximize the impact. Cause that person who's reading it to turn the page and read your resume. You want them to be excited about you. You don't want them to have to sit through an entire presentation about your life. Before the 3 paragraphs, we have the opening. And at some point, most letters say something like, "Dear Mike." The problem is you may not actually know who you're submitting this to. So what do? Well, if you're not sure, to say hello. The entire letter can start with the word hello and a comma, and you get right into your paragraphs. No one will notice. What they do notice is things that say, "I haven't done my research." "Dear hiring manager," "to whom it may concern." These things say, I didn't really bother to look at who was doing this hiring, or you didn't tell me, and so now I'm just generic-ing my cover letter. Ideally, find out who it is and personally address it. If you can say, "Dear Mike," that would be really good. But if you don't know, just say hello and move on. It doesn't have to be that strict. Paragraph number 1. At the end of reading this paragraph, we have to understand the question, who are you? I like to think of it as 2 things, the name and the objective, and keep it short. One important thing that a lot of job seekers fail to do is to mention the job name. And the reason this is so important is because we actually get a lot of different resumes, a lot of different application packages, and sometimes we're hiring for multiple jobs. So if you say, "Hello, I'm a student and I'm really interested in the job you posted," I have no idea which one I'm reading for, especially if I'm going back and reopening something, or if someone has sent it to me and I have to read that cover letter and understand what job is this even being applied for. So, for example, here's a 2-sentence, very, very quick opening paragraph that explains who I am. I'm a 3rd-year civil engineering student, so I've explained who I am. I've explained what I'm studying. Applying for your concrete technician position, I've explained the position. And now I give a little bit of excitement, which sounds like an incredible opportunity for me to expand my skill set. And that's it. That's enough, because the next 2 paragraphs are going to explain in more detail why this job and this company are important to you. Paragraph 2, why do you want this job? So let's think about the application process for jobs, whether it's a co-op job or it's your first job you're applying for. You're going to send out a lot of resumes, and you could have applied to anything. Even if it doesn't even fit with your skill set, you might just be interested in, maybe you're a civil engineer who's never done web design and you're super interested in web design, so you've applied to a web design company as well. So you need to explain why you want this particular job. They know you've applied to many different places. That isn't the problem. You're not trying to hide that fact, but you're trying to explain, I've applied to those places that I really want to work at, and this is one of them. What was it that made you stop and apply to this job? That's what you have to answer with that second paragraph. I recommend making it personal and focusing on one big thing. The job description might have 10 different things it's looking for, and it might really excite you. It may not. You still want to tell them that you're excited. And take one of those things and focus on it. So here's an example. This position really caught my eye since it involves working with whatever it is, XYZ. Ever since I first learned about XYZ in my coursework, so notice that I'm talking a little bit about a personal experience, but also saying that I know a little bit about this. I found it a fascinating idea, so I'm interested in this position. I really want to work with this because that's what the position's about. And I'm looking for a chance to deepen my skills working with it in an industrial context. So now I'm saying that have some skills. I want to expand them or deepen them in this particular case. I like the word deepen because it sort of says that I have something and now it's time to expand it and then deepen it and get it really going. And then I explained that it's an industrial context, maybe because honestly I've only ever seen it in school. So I don't know really what it looks like in the real world. So now I've explained why I want the job, but let's think about the problem here. I could have applied to this same job because they're typically entry level. They typically exist at anywhere. So what happens if a competitor with the exact same job comes around and says, hey, I'm going to pay you $1 more? Would you just jump ship and take the job? What is it about us, about this company you're applying to, that matters to you? You need to convince them that even if that competitor did come along, you'd probably still work here. You need to make it clear you did your research. I like your company because they do great work in the field isn't really enough. You have to tell them that you understand what they do and why you are passionate about working there. So here's an example. I think your company's innovations in the field of wastewater management, and now I go very, very specific, especially your Mississauga Blue Roof project, are very interesting. So what that means is I've sort of gone to their website. Maybe I do know the company. Maybe I've really been following it. And this is easy for larger companies. It's Apple or Google or whatever it is. But for smaller companies doing really innovative things, maybe you have been following it. So tell them. And then you explain why that's important to you. So this Mississauga Blue Roof project is not something they do, but why do you care? My own interests in wastewater management have been ongoing since I applied to university, and I want to be able to turn my passion into a successful career. So now it makes sense as to why I'm applying here. Right? This particular position, it may not have anything to do with the wastewater management. Maybe it's just tangential to it. But I want to work for this company because I want to be exposed to the whole industry because it interests me. Your cover letter is not your resume. So a lot of students struggle with the idea of, if I'm talking about my skills in my cover letter, then isn't that just copying what's in my resume? Well, no. You want to make them read the resume. That's the point of the cover letter. If you read the cover letter and you're super excited, you really want to turn the page because this person is passionate and wants to work here. If you keep it short, focused, and personal, and you make sure that excitement shines through, then it's going to work for you to convince that person. If they're convinced to read your resume, then hopefully your resume is going to stand on its own and got them to give you an interview. The cover letter's purpose is not to get you the interview. It's to get them to read more and be excited about you. The final thought I want to leave you with is to tailor your cover letter for jobs you really want. You'll notice this 3-paragraph form, it's going to be short, but it does require some research. You could not possibly submit one cover letter to multiple companies, especially if you talk about a specific project that company has done. Well, suddenly that just doesn't work anymore. If you really, really want a job, and importantly, in the job application description, they do not say don't submit a cover letter. If they tell you not to and you do, then you're just not reading instructions. But if you really want this job and you tailor your cover letter for those jobs you really, really want, and you get that passion through, then you're going to have a much better time of getting looked at and hopefully, if your resume can stand on its own, getting those interviews.